What my favorite part about the saga from yesterday of people just like losing their shit over the Delta thing, like liberals just like going at it again. One of my favorite parts about that was like people basically being forced to admit, because the CDC openly stated that it's to protect the economy, that they were like, yeah, okay, it's to protect the economy, but the Delta CEO personally didn't have anything to do with it. It's like, dude, my point is that, okay? My main point is the CDC is doing this to protect the economy. Okay? They're not doing this independently. They're doing this because they want to protect the economy. Who the fuck wants, like, who benefits, who stands to benefit the most from the economy being protected at a time when, like, workers' lives are going to be less safe? And then saw people saying that the economy is necessary for protecting people's health. No, I totally. That's exactly, conservatives. Liberals who are basically saying, get the fuck back to work. Which, by the way, is exactly what conservatives were saying last year and this year. They think you're stupid. I know, but the reality is, I think they're horrible and also stupid, but certainly bad people in general. Some of you will die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take, is precisely what Republicans were saying during COVID, and they're still saying that. And now liberals are saying it too, but in a more liberal way. Obviously. It's kind of like me saying some of you are willing to see the top of the hour ad break, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. 9 minutes into the top of the hour, the first ad break of the day. Because at the top of the hour, there is a 60-second ad break, okay? And we serve that ad here. Now, if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do that for $5. You can do that for free, okay, with a Twitch Prime. You can do that by getting a gifted sub if you're lucky. But if you're not lucky, those other two options are what you got. But here's the 1 minute ad break now. Twitch Prime is free, though. Can you just say that COVID is less deadly than the flu if you're vaccinated? So why is it so bad? Okay, I think you don't understand something here. COVID is less deadly than the flu if you're vaccinated, okay? Except it's still deadly, okay? If you have the flu, you shouldn't go into work either. I don't know what the recovery period of the flu is, but if you have the flu in a normal world, you shouldn't go to work as well. Because some other people might get the flu from you and die, okay? But remember the part where I said COVID is less deadly if you're vaccinated? COVID is still incredibly deadly in comparison to the flu if you're not vaccinated. And guess who's going out all the fucking time? Unvaccinated people, okay? So, like, this is like a quadruple whammy because, one, you're forcing someone to go to work when they're still sick, even if they're asymptomatic, okay? So that's not good from a worker protection standpoint, obviously, but it's certainly not good also from the customer point of view. None of you have any fear that, like, the guy that's working 725 at whatever, McDonald's in Alabama is going to fucking come back into work sick. And while you're grabbing your fucking Big Mac and making it, McGangbang or something with the dollar menu's over now, but you're making a McGangbang with the McChicken and the other fucking sandwich, I forget the name of it now, and you just get COVID, and then you give it to your grandfather who is an unvaccinated hog, and he dies. Does that seem great to you? It's all about trying to a McDouble and a McChicken. It's all about trying to minimize that casualty, okay? That's what this is. It's straight up about minimizing the amount of unnecessary death. And worst of all, the thing that I've discussed that we're not, for some weird fucking reason, we're not talking about or considering. Don Jenny, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Don Jenny, thank you for the 20 gifted subs, actually. But the thing that we're not considering that I also mentioned is that, like, there is no new evidence that somehow magically made this, led the CDC to this decision. It is a newfound interpretation of previous evidence that has been readily available for a long time. You could have an argument to say maybe we were going too hard on the quarantining, okay? But the CDC is not even saying that. The only reason why the CDC did this, and this is their point of view, not mine, not fucking conspiracies or anything, is because they wanted to preserve the economy and they thought that people aren't quarantining anyway, so we might as well just lower the restrictions. Why do they do that? They do that so that companies can be like, look, see, the CDC lowered the restrictions. Get the fuck back to work. Anyway, let's hear what Anthony Fauci has to say.
Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, thank you so much for being here. I want to get right to it. With an average of 3 Americans testing positive every second, was this really the time to shorten the CDC guidelines for some Americans?
Well, you don't want to confuse what the rationale for that was. The shortening of the period of isolation for an infected, asymptomatic person was in order to be able to get people back to the workplace, particularly when you're talking about the critical jobs that are necessary.
Oh, shit, dude. What? That's crazy. Yo, Fauci sounds like a conspiracy theorist right now when he is describing the reasoning behind why why they lowered the restrictions. That's so crazy. I'm a liberal, so I personally believe institutions are infallible to such a degree that, like, when the main, talking person of an institution openly admits what they're saying, I'm still going to think the institution is infallible. So I'll just try to fucking figure out different ways of making it seem like their reasoning was actually justifiable beyond it. And if I can't find a reasoning for it, then I'll just basically say you're a Trump supporter, I think, and hyper focus on, like, being in contention with the CDC, right? As though, like, again, because the institution is infallible in your mind and the mind of a liberal, going against the institution means automatically that you are, you're a radical, you're crazy, and wrong. More importantly, wrong. You're wrong. You're not allowed to go against an institution. These institutions are infallible, remember? That's a faulty premise. Okay? And then if it's not, if you're having a hard time being like, oh, well, you can disagree with the CDC, but, like, also, you can disagree with the CDC's decision. No, you can't. Your main argument is that you can't. That's what the gripe comes from. Then you'll turn around and you'll say, well, it's weird because you made it seem like it was just the Delta CEO that was responsible for it. It actually wasn't. The CDC actually arrived at the economic incentive conclusion on their own without any sort of lobbying efforts or without any sort of fucking, industry leaders openly agitating against these restrictive quarantine measures. So you just go down the talking tree. So don't let these motherfuckers try to, don't let these motherfuckers try to gaslight you into believing that you said something wrong, if that's your point of view. Okay? Because, like, their conclusion in that argument, especially if their fucking point of view is this, is that, like, oh, you can disagree with the CDC's decision, but don't say it's because of the Delta CEO. Okay, fine. So where did they reach that then? Because there's no new evidence. So they just reached that conclusion on their own without any sort of additional evidence? You just debated, bro, instead of shadowboxing. You should have shut them the fuck down, says Debate Lord. No. The reason why that is unproductive rather than this is because when you have that conversation with someone, it's going to be for the memes for the most part. But when I have this conversation here, okay, when I have this conversation here, I'm describing to you why debating is unnecessary as well, while also adequately describing my positions. Anyway.
For the functioning of society, when you have an overwhelming number of infections that we're seeing right now, and that we likely will see accelerate in the next couple of months, there's a risk of really being able to not function well in society for critical positions and critical jobs. The alternative would be something that nobody wants, and that's to shut down the country completely.
Some healthcare professionals are taking to social media saying that these guidelines are based on idealistic expectations. I mean, we know mass compliance is low in some parts of the country. So is it a mistake to not require people to get tested before they go back out into public if they do test positive?
Well, it depends on what you want the test to mean. The actual antigen tests that we're talking about do not have any real predictive value as to the transmissibility when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days into an infection. These tests are good for surveillance to determine who is infected and who is not, but they were never meant to determine the level to which someone is transmissible to someone else. And I think that's one of the misunderstandings that the director of the CDC tried to explain today at the press conference.
The CDC was pushed by the private sector to make some of these changes.
Tests don't matter in transmissibility is what he just said, okay? Tests only matter to show you whether you have COVID or not. What he's basically stating is data that's already been available, which is you can be positive but not transmissible. Or you can be positive but not transmitting the disease. Except because of the 20 to 40% range of transmissibility, even after you are, even after you've gone over the hump of COVID, because that's too much of a risk, because that means 80 to 60% of motherfuckers are still going to be transmitting the disease, we take this additional necessary precaution because the CDC is not your mom and dad. The CDC is not your boss. The CDC is a government institution that has to factor in what your dumbass parents or what your dumbass boss is going to do when making these sorts of public decisions. That's their entire purpose. So for the CDC to operate in a similar capacity to your mom and dad or your Facebook aunt or your dumbass boss is terrifying, okay? To say that the CDC has no power is also ridiculous. The CDC has awesome powers, and I mean awesome powers. Technically, the CDC could, at gunpoint, utilize the military and lock every single person into a FEMA facility if they wanted to, if they found it necessary, if they deemed it to be the appropriate public health care measure. They literally would be able to utilize the military into locking you into FEMA camps. You understand that, right? And that is absolutely constitutional. So you're incredibly wrong when you say the CDC has no fucking powers. They could literally do that. I mean, you can fucking say, I declare the authority of this court to not be a naval court, and I don't believe in it, or whatever the fuck you want. But, you know, they can do that if they want to. Or rather, if they deem it necessary. The CDC's powers are so awesome, it went against the power of capital in the most meaningful way you can. They were utilized as a way to extend the eviction moratorium. Okay? That's insane. Think about how fucking insanely powerful the CDC is that they can take anti-capitalist actions like that. Okay, that is undeniable power in a capitalist country where the government works at the behest of corporations. And it was a justifiable action that the CDC took then. And it's still a justifiable action. I declare maritime court laws, brother. I don't comply to the CDC. Yeah, exactly. So the tests are unattainable right now in my area. My mother has been in line for 5 hours and counting and waiting to get tested today. Yeah, I know. That's another part of the problem is that like there aren't. That's another part of the issue is that like they are we don't have enough fucking tests anyway. I mean, this is a triple whammy. It's basically a powder keg situation. And I think this is the part of our fuck it phase. You know, we're on our fuck it shit. People who say you are undermining the integrity, legitimacy of the CDC don't understand how much you've gone on the record to say how much you respect the CDC and their power. I mean, yeah, that's probably part of the reason why people in my audience themselves are like confused sometimes when I criticize the CDC. What about this article? The CDC has less power than you think and likes it that way. Well, I can't read this fucking article, so GG's on that. Guys, in the past, the U.S. government literally held people at gunpoint and forcibly inoculated them, separated parents from their babies, okay, during the smallpox outbreaks. There have always been rugged individualists. There have always been people who are against vaccination. There have always been people who are, anti public health measures. It doesn't fucking matter, okay? What matters is getting over it, okay? And the government, a good government, should do anything it takes to fix the situation. A bad government will not. We are a bad government. America has always kind of been a bad government. So, you know, it's just the way America is. It's just never going to happen. It would be too authoritarian. So we should use violence to deal with someone that doesn't comply. Thank God you aren't prime minister. We don't have a prime minister, dingus. And secondly, every matter, violence is baked in, or the threat of violence is baked into every action that the government takes. You don't pay your taxes, well, you're going to jail, baby. That's violence. Okay? The government has a monopoly on that violence. So you need to recognize that before we do anything. Okay? So, you know, that's kind of what the government does. Unless you're going to come in here and tell me that you're anti-government across the board, I don't know what to tell you. As a matter of fact, kind of what we talk about here. The point of my commentary revolves around, and the point of political commentary in general, and politics in general, revolves around who gets to do the violence. Okay? It's literally a back and forth, a dialectic, if you will, of who gets to do the justifiable violence and who is the justifiable the justifiable victims in that circumstance of that justifiable violence. That's literally politics. Is a distribution of power and violence. Okay? Anyway, Dingus Khan. Stop using the Dingus slur, please, Mr. Azan. It's a family name. Sorry, Mr. Dingus. Anyway. But won't it be a bad government to bring people being forced to vaccinate? Your reality is not their reality. It doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because we are fucking animals, okay? The most powerful thing that a human being has, the most powerful skill set that we have as human beings is our skill set in adaptation, okay? We're maxed out on adapting. So, you know what'll happen? There will be some resistance. And once you go over the hump, there will be no resistance. You want to know examples of this? Nobody even knows about the smallpox thing I just mentioned. People don't even know about that reality. You want to know another thing? Okay. Whenever there is a new vaccine, the VAERS report system goes fucking buck wild with like, oh, I got autism from the MMR vaccine. You know what happens years later when everyone is being mass inoculated? They forget about it and they get that vaccine and they shut the fuck up. That's the point. Not true? No, it is absolutely true. Whenever a new vaccine comes out and it's in the media, the self-report system goes absolutely buck wild. The cases skyrocket. And then everyone is getting the vaccine a year later, 2 years later, and no one is reporting these deaths from that vaccine in that self-report system, or the autism that they got from the vaccine in the self-report system. Why? More people are getting the vaccine than ever before, but for some reason, the vaccine-induced autism and deaths have gone away. Why? Because there's mass hysteria, okay? This is something that every single person knows, for the record. Everyone knows this. Everyone that works in statistics absolutely knows this. Everyone that tracks this information absolutely knows this reality. Why does it go away? Because one, it wasn't a fucking murderous vaccine. That would be ridiculous. And two, the mass hysteria dies down, so people just shut the fuck up and take it. So what we're going through right now, is simply the mass hysteria that we need to take seriously for some fucking weird reason. I say no. It may seem like the vaccines are doing less to stop Omicron because of the number of breakthrough anecdotes, but the data published by New York City's DOH today is absolutely gobsmacking. I've never heard that term before, gobsmacking. Look at this. Cases per 100,000 people by vaccination status. The vaccinated case rate is still much lower than the citywide case rate per 100,000 people. Look at the unvaccinated case rate, dude. And if you look at, this is the cases, and if you look at the hospitalizations, still, unvaccinated hospitalizations are still lower, and even getting lower and lower, whereas the citywide one is rising, obviously, because look at the unvaccinated hospitalization rate. This is simply, this is 1,000%. 1,000,000% the unfortunate reality of having unvaccinated people just running the fuck around, getting COVID and going into the hospital, and then everyone else being like, why is this still happening? Why are we still not out of it? While they simultaneously, okay, those unvaccinated people are simultaneously complaining about how long COVID is gone. Okay? I've been saying this since fucking day one, which is, if you want to get over this shit, and I hate these lockdowns, I want to get over it as well, get fucking vaccinated. Get fucking boosted. But they don't want to do that. And for the people asking, like, at some point, this will all end when all the unvaccinated die, KEGW, no. Because not all the unvaccinated die. Some of them get COVID, some of them get long COVID, and then they think, oh, I have the antibodies, so we're good. It's not happening. You're not good. It's inconsistent. The antibodies that you get from COVID are inconsistent. Okay? Higher vaccination rate, lower death rate. States with the lowest vaccination rates have the highest death rates. States with the highest vaccinations rates have lower death rates. Just the reality. I don't know what else to do about that. Like, holy fuck, Wyoming is at like nearly 20%. What a psychotic state, dude. What is happening? Less than 50% of the state in Wyoming has been vaccinated, fully vaccinated. More than 20%, or not more than 20%, 20 more, almost 20 deaths per 100,000. That's crazy. 20 people out of 100,000 have died. That's like 100,000 is the population of Wyoming. Can you imagine if you fucking, let me say something. If you die in Wyoming, okay? If you fucking die in Wyoming, that's insane. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because the state has 12 people. It's just vast land. That's it. What are you getting the COVID from? You're a cow? Who the fuck is giving you COVID? When do you see other people? That is literally like, you have to be seeking it. You have to be like actively kissing every person you see in the state of Wyoming to fucking die. Even Kanye doesn't live there anymore. He was like, this shit sucks. I'm going back to living in fucking Calabasas outside of my wife's house, ex-wife's house, or currently still wife, but like kind of ex-wife's house. Bananas. It's like I'm looking at numbers right in front of my eyes, and I try to like relay this information to people, and they're like, nope, don't understand it, don't care, big number man, fuck you. Math, gay. You're trying to give me the homosexual disease of math. That's right. I will not stand for this. Like, okay, fuck it. Just, all right, die then, you know? I don't know what to tell you. Oh, Jesus. It's just like, it sucks because I constantly am in a state, and I feel like maybe you guys are going through this as well, because so many in this community and in every community at least knows like one or two people or someone close to them that has gotten COVID and not survived it. You know what I mean? So like I'm constantly going through a state of let them fucking die if they want to, holy shit, to, well, it's kind of bad that they're dying. Like it's really fucked up and they shouldn't die. And a government should not do that. A government should protect its citizens unconditionally, no matter what, even if they don't want to, you know, even if they don't want to live themselves, right? Or I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, motherfucker saying 20 out of 100K is not big. Do you want a disease to kill everyone that it touches? Yeah, no, they're literally on the side of COVID, bro. You don't understand. 20 out of 100,000. Whatever, bro. Whatever, bro. Talk to me when it kills 100 out of 100,000. Even then, it's not that big of a deal. Talk to me when it kills 50,000 out of 100,000. Nuts. That's monthly, but still nuts. Let Darwinism sort out the anti-vaxxers? No. Social Darwinism is not a real concept when the economic organization that we all exist under is capitalism, and therefore a lot of people who are poverty-stricken are, one, unfortunately, devoid of the access to healthcare measures and devoid of the access to the education initiatives to be able to accurately assess the situation in front of them. So I don't think that, you know, people should fucking die because they're making bad decisions, because ultimately those people aren't really bad people. Some of them are just misguided. Some of them, unfortunately, don't have the same level of education that you might have had. Okay? Feeling really, feeling good about your level of knowledge, and then saying like those stupid people who are, who don't see the world in the same way that you do. Well, those guys are in a lot of instances victims themselves. They're victims of misinformation. They're victims of not getting better education. They're victims of circumstance. They're victims of their family development. You know what I mean? So you have to protect those people as well. That's what a good government is supposed to do. And that's precisely why I go back and forth of like feeling very angry at them, and then also simultaneously being like, but we should still do something about it, right? This idiot says you should really take your own advice here. Well, I'm already explaining that like I'm a weak man, and it feels good sometimes to it feels cathartic, but it feels good sometimes to be like, okay, well, you know, this is happening. Fuck you. Because a lot of those motherfuckers come in here and try to debate me. Okay. A lot of those motherfuckers come in here and say, you're a Biden simp, or you're a fucking idiot. Like, I will die if I want to. Fuck you, basically. And, you know, when you do that every day, in and out, over and over and over again, you start developing a thick outer shell where you're just like, okay, die then. Die then, dummy. Fucking die. Okay? So, and then they fucking turn around and they cry. They're like, you're so mean. It's like, no, motherfucker, I'm granting you your wish, dummy. Like you said you don't want to be protected, and I'm granting you your wish. You can't cry about it after I granted you your wish. Okay, I don't care. So that's certainly a problem where like my empathy runs low sometimes. But then I'm reminded that these are still victims of misinformation. Okay, did you drink your 10th booster? Like, it's like idiots like this that say shit like this. It's like, yeah, you're above it, brother. You're above the fucking meta. You know the secret. Us dummies, though, us bugmen, we're so stupid. You know, keep it going. See, that's what I'm saying. When I see that a million times over at a certain point, after a certain point, I'm like, fucking die. So that's certainly a frustration that I have. Just change everyone's minds every day when they come in here with that attitude that they know everything. It's easy. Just do it. I mean, I try my best. So what was I going to say? You should have received something in the mail about your car's extended warranty expiring since we have not gotten a response. We are giving you one final call before we close out your file and your coverage is voided. Dog, I bought my car in 2011, okay? I don't think there is an extended warranty on a 2011 Toyota Camry. I think that shit's been, voided for a long-ass time, okay? It's a robocall, I know. So when you get your new car, you will get so much junk in the mail about that crap, maybe. Okay, so that's where I'm at with the COVID shit. Okay? Just protect yourselves, protect your loved ones. Do the best you can. Who's he talking to? How fucking dare you, dude? You motherfucker, I'm talking to you. Okay. Might be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like a 7-year manslaughter sentence will be just as effective at deterring cops killing 50-year murder sentences. And of course, this goes for every other crime as well. Wait, that's not a fucking unpopular opinion. I mean, it's an unpopular opinion in America, and maybe people will fucking get angry because he's talking about cops, but he's right. As far as like, lower sentences for even murder and a focus on rehabilitative justice is something that I'm absolutely in favor of. So whoever sent this to me saying that I was going to fucking dunk on him for this is incorrect. I'm absolutely in favor of shorter sentences. Putting someone in jail or putting someone in prison for 7 years versus like 50. You think people are like, oh man, I'm going to prison for 50 years. Like, so I'm not going to do this murder. Like, that's not how murder happens, you know? What up, Austin? Do you think this Twitter thread is being alarmist? Most likely. Most Twitter threads are alarmist. Life in the U.S. in January, February 22nd was going to be almost unrecognizable to most Americans. Even the people who managed to pretend COVID-19 wasn't happening are about to get a major wake-up call. When we call 911, no one comes. When we literally cannot enter the ER for crowds. When we go to grocery stores and find shelves empty, the pharmacies, yeah, this is alarmist as fuck. I mean, I think something close to this will happen, though. I mean, this is aggro. This is, of course, it's alarmist, dude. Come on, what the fuck? Why should I, as a young, healthy, right-wing libertarian, care about being vaccinated against some Wuhan flu? Yeehaw. That's right, brother. Hell yeah. Motherfucker still living in 2020. Early 2020 memes right here, brother. Fuck yeah. Isn't like the whole past year alarmic though? I mean, if you, I guess alarmism or a post is alarmist entirely depends on your worldview. Like, you might consider 800 to 900,000 people dying of a preventable disease is not that big of a deal, right? Especially if it's happening away from you. So, you know, maybe that's why you don't think it's like something to worry about. That's basically what it is. But you know, as long as you can avoid the ER during that duration, I guess it doesn't really matter to you. I don't know how else to describe it. Hillary Clinton on the State Department of the Democratic Party. I think it's time for some careful thinking about what wins elections, and not just in deep blue districts where a Democrat and liberal Democrat or so-called progressive Democrat is going to win. What the fuck does she know about winning, dude? You're a fucking loser. What is happening? Why does Hillary Clinton get to talk about winning? Okay? It's like me talking about fucking the life experiences of being a fucking world famous athlete, okay? I'm not that. Okay? Oh yeah, let me tell you guys, like, nobody comes to me to hear about what it's like to be LeBron James, okay? Because I'm not LeBron James. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, is the LeBron James of losing, okay? Are people asking her about how gracefully, or not gracefully, but like how well you can take L's? Because that's the only thing that Hillary Clinton is you know, good at, okay? Taking fucking L's and holding those L's. Look, I'm all about having vigorous debate, but at the end of the day, it means nothing if we don't have a Congress that will get things done, and we don't have a White House that we can count on to be sane and sober and stable and productive. Yeah, great. Great stuff. I love libs, dude. They're so great. Yeah. No, it's actually the progressives that are at fault here. Joe Biden is president, but it's still the progressives that are at fault. Guys, what we need to do... Hey, guys. Here's the funniest part about the liberal fantasy, okay? David Axeldick said this perfectly like last week or 2 weeks ago, where he talked about Build Back Brandon, Build Back bullshit, and he was like, well, we can't pass it because the margins are too slim, right? Because that's what everyone's saying. It's like, oh, it's Joe Manchin. He's holding up progress on this like incredibly watered down bill that we watered down simply for Joe Manchin, right? It's not just Joe Manchin, though. And David Axelrod basically stated a couple weeks ago where it was like, we had this exact same problem in the Obama administration with 60 people. And it's like, oh, so it doesn't matter. So even if you have a filibuster-proof majority, there's still a problem. There's still a rotating villain in the Democratic Party. That's so strange. So what is it then? Like, in a perfect neoliberal world, let's say 100% of the Senate and 100% of the Congress is neoliberal Democrats. What happens then? Okay, do we actually get health care? Seriously, I want to ask that question where it's like 100% of the Congress is blue dog Democrats like the ones Hillary Clinton thinks wins elections. What do we get done in that situation? Do we get better infrastructure? Do we get public health care? Is that the only thing that was preventing us from getting these things? Or is it that like the Democratic Party itself doesn't actually want these things either because they are at the behest of their corporate benefactors? We'll just have a gayer military. That's it. And the bombs will be gay bombs. And you will be forced, I guess, at gunpoint to recycle. And if we catch you drinking out of a fucking plastic straw, you get the death sentence. I think the Democrats fear nothing more than that situation where they like are forced to do something. You know what I mean? Where they can't rely on the Republican Party to be like, oh man, look how bad they are. They're just saying no to everything. And for the record, the Republican Party, they are bad. They're villains. They're horrible. They're monsters. They're vultures. Do not mistake my anger towards the Democratic Party as an acceptance of the psychopathic, bloodthirsty, pedophilic monsters on the Republican side, okay? Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. So if you're, if you're like someone who's like kind of conservative and you turn around and you're like, well, this guy's saying some good shit about them libs. Yeah, they fucking suck. I despise them. I despise them for how close they are to the Republicans, okay? Anyway. Those monsters exist on the Democratic side too, Haas? Yeah, okay, I agree. I don't know what you want. Huh. Because as it stands, the Democratic Party platform is basically saying we're not as bad as those Republicans, and then letting Republicans win so they can be like, oh man, look how bad those Republicans are. So, get ready for the fucking red wave in the midterms, baby. Coming up this year.
We heard from the CEO of Delta writing a letter calling for a shorter isolation period, warning that 10 days would significantly impact operations. So bottom line here, are these new guidelines motivated by science or by business?
Well, as I just mentioned, the scientific basis is what we just mentioned. You can get people safely back out in a 5-day period, so long as they wear a mask, if they are without symptoms. That is the science. The impact of that is to try and...
For the record, this is not new data. This is old data. So what they're basically stating is you can safely go out for the past year or so. Okay? You could have safely gone out for the past year or so as long as you wear a proper mask, a KN or an N95, even if you're testing positive. No, this is not new data. This is not new data. They're not saying that there's any new data. They're just simply reinterpreting old data, which you can do. And even then, they're literally fucking, they're admitting that like this new reinterpretation has a lot of qualifiers. Wearing proper masks, okay? Wearing proper masks, an N95 with no beard, that sort of thing. Actually social distancing, proper ventilation, being fucking asymptomatic, right? And that is before we admit that even then, there's still a very high likelihood that if you're still testing positive, you're still spreading COVID. That data shows that. What is it, 20 to 40%? And if 1 million people have fucking COVID, 20 to 40% is pretty significant. The empirical evidence is yes, you can be transmissible beyond 5 days via rapid testing positive, actively replicating the virus. The CDC is ignoring shit like this. This is true. I mean, the CDC is not ignoring this, by the way. The CDC admits this. The CDC's very own data shows this reality. That you can still transmit this disease. Will you shave to be less selfish? Fuck no. I'm selfish as a motherfucker, bro. Get the fuck out of here. I'm selfless in the sense that like I stay home, okay? But I'm not fucking shaving, bitch. That's right. I'm selfish as fuck. I don't give a shit. I did my fucking part. I vaccinated. I'm so selfish, dude. I'm straight up the most selfish motherfucker in that case. Because I'm like, I literally want this to be done. That's why I want everyone to be fucking vaccinated. So if I fucking get COVID and I cough on you and you get COVID, you don't die. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to suck doorknobs. I know it's not technically fomite transmission, but it's like a meme about, getting sick. Okay? I saw that. Like, that's what people were saying to me. Oh, we've known since 2019 that it's not fucking COVID doesn't spread through surfaces. It's like, please just suck every doorknob until you get the right kind of disease then. Okay? So that's my point. Like, the reason why I want everybody to get fucking vaccinated is because I selfishly do not want to go to the gym and wear a mask. I think it fucking sucks. It is the worst thing ever, okay? It's 1987 George Orwell, Animal Factory, Animal Cracker. It's all of those things, okay? On the Nintendo system, Animal Farm. Or not Animal Farm, sorry. Just 1989, dude. George Orwell. It's all of that. It is the worst thing ever, dude. Being forced to fucking wear a wet mask at the gym while you're working out is straight up the worst thing. No one on the planet has ever experienced such horrible, just awfulness, okay? No one. The worst form of oppression. Yeah, same with 13-hour warehouse shifts, man. Of course, by the way, I'm obviously joking. It's like there's so many worse versions of oppression out there, and I am simply joking when I say all those things, but like, just so people understand, I'm being sarcastic. But like, it still sucks, and I am selfish. I recognize my selfishness when I say that.
Not be in a situation where we essentially have to shut down the entire country. This was not done because of any statement by any CEO of any company.
Oh, that's it, dude. Yeah, it's not the individual statements of the Delta CEO. Okay, got it.
I want to turn to testing. The Biden administration, we know, is preparing to ship out 500 million rapid tests to Americans at home, despite these new FDA warnings about their sensitivity. So should antigen tests be avoided when possible? Should Americans trust these tests?
There is always a very important place for antigen tests. They never have been 100% sensitive. If you want to definitively find out if someone is infected, for example, if someone has symptoms and has reason to believe they're infected, the test to use is a PCR test, which has a high degree of sensitivity and specificity. If you want to do surveillance in which you're going to be repeating a test more than once, the antigen test is a good way to do that. Against Omicron, the sensitivity is somewhat diminished, but not enough to make the tests not useful. They are still useful under the circumstances of broad surveillance to see if a person or a group is infected.
Last question here. Do you think it's too early for some to be breathing a sigh of relief about Omicron being potentially less severe?
Yes, I think it would be too premature. We are heartened by the fact that from the South African data, the data from the UK, and the accumulating.
How does he say we shouldn't, we should still be alarmist about Omicron while simultaneously being like, but we're lowering restrictions to quarantine restrictions of 5 days? Like, that is psychotic, dude. You can't, like, that just straight up doesn't make sense, okay? Yeah, you definitely worry about Omicron, but also at the same time, 5 days is enough. Okay, sick. All right, got it. Yeah, it's premature to feel like we're over COVID. Got it. Okay. What's not premature is the top of the hour ad break coming 4 minutes before the top of the hour. Okay, 12:56, totally appropriate time to fucking serve an ad. Now, of course, if you no longer want to see those ads, if you want an ad-free broadcasting experience, many of you do, then all you need to do is subscribe. You can be lucky and get gifted a sub. If you're a gifted sub recipient, it's kind of like the natural antibodies. Or if you're not lucky, you need to make your own luck by subscribing for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. That's right. But that's how this works. Okay, here's the 1 minute ad break now.
Data in the United States that it looks like it is less severe. It's much more transmissible.
I thought you trusted scientists more than yourself. I am trusting the scientist. I'm trusting both of the takes that he is stating, and failing to understand how that works. Okay? That's what I'm saying. It's my trust for the CDC that leads me down this conclusion where it doesn't make sense to say Omicron is still dangerous while simultaneously stating that we can ease restrictions. I'm not saying I know more than Dr. Antonio Fauci, okay? I'm simply stating that this doesn't make sense. Smoot42, thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
Which is something you need to take seriously, because even though you may have less degree of severity, the sheer volume of new infections might obviate that advantage of it being less severe. So even though we're heartened by that, I don't think we should be declaring any kind of a victory that, well, now we have a less severe virus. We've got to make sure we take it very seriously, as we do with any variant.
And your message to Americans out there getting ready to celebrate New Year's?
Well, as I've said many times, if you're vaccinated and you're boosted and you want a family gathering in your home with other vaccinated and boosted people, although the risk is not zero, the risk is very low. What I would suggest people do not do is to go to very large 50 to 60 person parties where people are blowing whistles and all that sort of thing and celebrating, and you don't.
But listen, bro, if you get it 5 days later, you can get back to work. You know, you'll take a nice 5-day vacay, you know? Even if you get it, brothers, I mean, apparently, according to the CDC, you know, you blow some whistles, you get a little bit of COVID, okay? A little spice in your life, you know? And then you're fine.
No, the vaccination status.
I mean, dude, come on, dude. Come on. It makes no sense. You're fine. You're good. 5 days in. You're good to go back to work 5 days in. That doesn't seem too bad to me. Does that seem bad to you? I'm literally just trusting the scientists here on this one, boys. Okay? And for the record, the thing that I mentioned that I found to be the thing that I was talking about, like with respect to CDC's guidelines, is that corporations already fucking do everything they can to say fuck the CDC guidelines anyway. And of course, this corporation, Delta, which is in the forefront of this conversation, immediately updated their policies, dude. That's right. Delta Airlines updates its COVID-19 policies after CDC's new guidance. Delta Airlines has updated its policies for workers who get sick with the coronavirus soon after the CDC shortened its recommended isolation period for Americans infected with COVID-19. Okay? Delta was one of the first companies to adapt to the updated guidance, which it had publicly called on the CDC to do. The Biden admin and major companies have said shortening the isolation period will help keep society functioning, which is a substitute for saving the economy. Your deaths are negligible. Your sickness is negligible. What matters is line must go up. Remember when everyone was united against Donald Trump when he was saying exactly those same things? It's totally different now that Joe Biden's administration is saying those things. So, you know, get back to fucking work, you dumb, sick wage cucks. Now, the airline's new policy dated, but unions worried that it would allow companies to pressure employees to come back to work. The airline's new policy dated Tuesday provides 5 days of paid leave for workers who test positive for the coronavirus to isolate, according to an internal communication company leaders obtained by the New York Times. For the record, remember, that's what the CDC's power is. Now they don't have any legal liability at all to just lower the amount of paid leave they give you when you get COVID. Remember, this is a company that relied heavily on government help and government assistance through the beginning stages of COVID, when all of their fucking aircraft were basically anchored, okay, stashed away. A COVID test to go back to work. Oh, and it encourages but does not require a COVID test to go back to work, going a step further than the CDC guidance, which does not include a recommendation for additional testing. Oh, how nice. Delta's new protocols make no mention of whether returning employees should have improving symptoms as suggested by the CDC. So, you know, they give a little and they take a little. They're suggesting that you take a COVID test to ensure, okay, that you can get back to work. And by the way, if you don't get back to work because you're still sick in the end of the 5-day pay period, well, you know, we could probably fire you. And also, sorry, but, you know, the money has run out. So good luck to all of the airline employees that are working through the holiday season. It is almost impossible for you not to get COVID at this point. But if you do get sick, make sure it's not for 5 days, because, you know, if it goes any longer than that, you might get fired. That's precisely what Delta is stating. This is one of your few takes I disagree with. The guidelines state that if you are symptomatic or feverish, you shouldn't go back to work. The only problem is how companies are screwing over workers, not the CDC. You are a fucking idiot if you don't recognize that the CDC is allowing companies to lower the fucking paid leave restriction. You understand that, right? And the reason for why companies can get away with it now is because of the CDC's guidance is being lowered to 5 days. When the CDC makes it 10 days, companies are going to get around that any way they can. But at least there is some kind of legal recourse, which, by the way, many people can't even take because obviously depositions are bullshit and companies win those all the fucking time and you're contractually obligated to get fucked by your company. But even then, there's at least some kind of legal recourse, a threat. Okay? So the CDC turning around and saying, we need to do this so we can fix America, the American economy, and ensure that it doesn't fall apart, which is literally what Dr. Fauci is stating, which is literally what the admin is stating, okay? They're basically saying, you have to get back to work. And Delta will do everything, and other companies will do everything to make you get back to work. They'll take the money out. Many airlines have had to cancel a spat of flights during the busy holiday travel season, blaming staff shortages caused by a spike in infections. Oh no. Delta and other airlines asked the CDC last week to update its isolation recommendations, which some public health officials said were outdated. Delta warned that the 10-day isolation period of the CDC put in place last year could significantly impact its operations as the Omicron variant of the virus is rapidly spreading, and it suggested a 5-day isolation period with an appropriate testing protocol. Don't do the ad. I already did the ad. What's wrong with wanting to fix the economy? Nothing. Absolutely nothing is wrong with wanting to fix the economy. It's very honorable. It's great. But at what cost is the answer, or is the question. Is it okay for many more people to die as a consequence of having them forced back into work when they're still spreading disease? Do you think that that actually fixes the economy? Also, when the economy is fixed, who's actually benefiting from that fixed economy? And in what ways are they benefiting from that fixed economy? And when the society is functioning that way? So explain that to me.
Groupie. I'm a thrice vaccinated, mask adherent. I buy KN95 masks by the, caseload. They're in every pocket. I wear them everywhere except when I sit down. And I am certain that this is not a variant I can outrun.
Ugh. I just I see this stuff and then I totally, again, my empathy for the anti-vaxxer dumbasses gets so much higher. Like, this is literally filling up my empathy bar right now. Like, previously I was like, fuck the anti-vaxxers. If they come in here and they're like, talk shit, if you want to die, go ahead, right? But then I see like a Bush administration, Rhino, MSNBC host who's like, I love Dr. Fauci. I'm wearing 4 masks at the same time, talking to fucking Jason Johnson, who is a horrible person and a dumbass. and Claire McCaskill, who is like the human embodiment of a potato, okay, and another fucking loser. I don't know anything about Dr. Anne Ramoyne, so I can't speak on that. I wear 5 masks. It's fucking great. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, then I'm like, you know what? Maybe the anti-vaxxers, I mean, I get it. I get why they are the way they are in some ways, okay? I lick the Fauci Funko Pop every day for good luck. If you look at the R naught value for Omicron and factor it into your thoughts, also, no, you don't have to give it to anti-vaxxers. What the fuck is happening? Actually, look at the R naught value for Omicron. Dude, even Dr. Fauci himself is saying that it's too early to fucking tell. Like, studies that are coming out of South Africa show that it's less deadly. But again, there are so many different fucking factors that play into that. Okay? And also, the R naught value for Omicron is significantly higher. What is the argument that you're trying to make? What you're supposed to be looking at, it's like insanely high. It's like measles level. So what the fuck are you talking about? For one reason or the other, America is just not geared towards COVID. He said it's clearly more transmissible and less severe, but if we get overwhelmed by it, it could still cause problems in a functioning society. Yeah, okay. First of all, he did not say it's less severe. He said it looks like it could be less severe, but we should still be very worried and we should still be very cautious. Okay? But the problem is you're not very cautious if you're lowering restrictions so that companies can literally force you back to work. What you're basically stating here is that, like, Omicron's going to get everybody regardless, which is precisely what I'm saying, for the record. Omicron's going to get everybody regardless, so get the fuck back to work after 5 days. Who cares? Yeah, that's going to increase the amount of people that end up getting Omicron, but we're going to have to we're going to have to build a bridge and get over it and fucking, weather the storm, no matter what. He literally said, you're good to go back to work in 5 days, okay? Because that's what companies are interpreting it as. It doesn't matter what, like, the CDC guidelines are that are changing, okay? What matters is how many days the CDC guideline says you can quarantine or should quarantine, okay? And when you lower that, okay, that's fine. You have to get back to work in 5 days, but don't blow the whistle at a fucking New Year's Eve party. Get the fuck out of here. Deny yourself of the carnal pleasures, but of course, when it comes to going back to work, shut the fuck up. Suck it the fuck up and get the fuck back to work, bitch. Okay? You better work, bitch. Anthony Fauci, please put some respect on my name. I did say that. Oh, man. Bitch better have my money. Like, what a sad way to live life, dude. Don't do anything fun because you might get COVID, which is true, okay? But also, the least fun thing, work, you definitely have to do that because otherwise we're fucked. And by we, I mean like people like me, okay? You know who gets fucked if you don't go back to work? Upper middle class Americans, okay? For the most part. Because you're getting fucked if you're poor. You're getting fucked if you're a delivery driver. Well, you're already a gig economy worker, so you're mega fucked anyway. But like, if you work for Delta, for example, you're getting fucked regardless. But now you're getting mega fucked because you have to go back to work, okay? If you're working at the grocery store, you're already getting fucked, but now you're mega fucked because you have to get back to work. Why? Because if you're not there, if you're not fucking, working at an Amazon distribution facility, then we can't get our treats. I can't. And I need my fucking treats. I need my treats. Okay? I need to be able to travel and I need my fucking treats. And that's your entire purpose here, is to be my, treat deliverer. So all of those people that you fucking despise, the bicoastal elitists or whatever, the millionaires, the mega wealthy, they are who you're working for. All the while, when we're having this conversation, 1,800 people are dying a day. 1,500 average so far this week. You know? So clearly, shit's still popping off. Think about that.